Alrighty, guys, project number 3 of the DCU. Let's talk about Peacemaker Season 2. When this podcast or this segment is coming out, you will probably be on the verge of Peacemaker Season 2, which is very exciting. And Peacemaker Season 1, it was a show that I was a big fan of. Honestly, I've said this before, I think Peacemaker Season 1 is probably the show that leans most into James Gunn's sensibilities as a filmmaker. For me, the Guardians films and Superman and even the Suicide Squad, to an extent, have a little bit of a ceiling for me in terms of how much I enjoy them. Because I think James Gunn has a sensibility as a filmmaker. And again, just for me, sometimes it works really well, and then in other moments it doesn't work quite as well. But I think Peacemaker is the vessel in which it works. It can work the best, at least for me personally. So I am pretty excited for Peacemaker Season 2. The trailers have given me a little bit of pause, though. And we'll talk about this as we go through. I have 3 hopes and 2 predictions for Peacemaker Season 2. Just to give a little bit of a rundown, these hopes are essentially things that if they happen, if they come to pass in the way that I'm hoping for, I'm not saying Peacemaker Season 2 is a guaranteed success on my part, or at least for me, but I am saying that it has every chance to succeed if these things happen, in my opinion. And then 2 predictions, just things that I think will happen. They're not going to be, I always say this, they're not going to be easy predictions. It's not going to be like Peacemaker saves the day, or Peacemaker fights himself, because we see these things in the trailers, but rather they're just going to be a little bit more out there, just for fun. I have maybe a 50% success rate with these, so maybe I'll get one of these right, and we will go from there. So let's dive in. 3 hopes and 2 predictions. I tried to line them up, but honestly, I don't know what to predict for Peacemaker. I tried to come up with a 3rd prediction to make them even, but I don't know. So 3 hopes and 2 predictions. These hopes here, by the way, not that they're more negative, but I was thinking about this. For me, Peacemaker Season 2, I mean, the things that we know are going to happen. James Gunn is going to write some really funny scenes and funny dialogue. The action's going to be cool, and it's going to be very similar to Peacemaker Season 1 in terms of tone and things like that. So I didn't have hopes necessarily for those things, because I feel very good about those things. So funnily enough, because I feel so good about those things, my hopes here actually are more, I will say, more things to avoid for Peacemaker Season 2. So number 1, my first hope, please be careful with the multiverse. Okay, first of all, I get it. It's not the multiverse. I know it's not literally the multiverse. It's parallel dimensions and it's pocket universes. I get, for all intents and purposes, it is the exact same narrative framing device. Multi-universes, different variations of yourselves. Another world where it's the exact same, but things are a little different. It's the exact same narrative device. If you want to go hear my thoughts more in depth on this in my about the multiverse and about these different things with Peacemaker Season 2, go check out my thoughts on the 2nd trailer, the most recent trailer for Peacemaker Season 2. We talked about this, I believe, a couple weeks ago. But in short, I feel like in general, in superhero movies and shows, we're kind of over it. I think Marvel is doing its best to close out the multiverse saga in a big way, but I think it's been tried and it's been true, and we've gotten some successes with Spider-Man No Way Home and even Deadpool and Wolverine, but I think it's just time to close the book on this. So the fact that James Gunn is reopening this book, especially establishing a new universe, especially when fans of the Snyderverse and the DCEU are still not quite over it at this point, maybe they'll never be over it, and maybe that's fine. But James Gunn opening the door to even just the hint that the DCEU is partly canon or could be a universe explore, it's just gonna get messy. And I don't know. I mean, it's been happening for the past 5 to 10 years. The multiverse has been everything, and it's been, pun intended, everything everywhere all at once in terms of the movie and entertainment industry. And I just hope that we can maybe move past it. So I have faith in James Gunn. He knows what he's doing. So that's why I'm not saying don't do the multiverse. I'm just saying be careful with the multiverse. Speaking of that, hope number 2, be careful, please be careful with DCU and DCEU canon. This series has the potential, more than Creature Commandos, which also kind of fudged DCU and DCEU canon already, because it mostly kept intact everything that James Gunn had done with the DCEU, Suicide Squad and Peacemaker. This series, though, being a season 2 in a universe when season 1 was in a different universe, has the potential to be very messy. And I know James Gunn has tried to get out in front of this with canon and what is canon, what's not canon, and what should we take and what should we not take. I get that. I'm just a little concerned because, I mean, I was thinking, okay, if you're going to do Peacemaker Season 2, because let's be completely honest, and you can say this is a good thing, you can say this is a bad thing, whatever you think, totally fine. Totally fine. Let's just be upfront and clear, though. James Gunn said, we're starting a new universe. It's the DCU. But he also, and so he also said, we're getting rid of everything else that came before. Henry Cavill, gone. Gal Gadot, gone. Ben Affleck, gone. Okay, great. Let's move on. Except he also said, but I'm going to take everything I did from the DCEU and bring that over. And everything else, it's gone. And again, say what you will. Say this is a good thing. Say this is a bad thing. I'm not really here to litigate that. I'm not here to talk about my thoughts on that. But that's what he did. That is what he did. And now he's going to have to face the consequences. Consequences is a strong word. But just to prove a point here, just to make a point, he's going to have to deal with that here. How he's going to do that? He says he's addressing it. I don't know. Let's just be careful with it. Let's not make this a big point. And let's just kind of... Let's see what happens. You know, I'm a little concerned about this in addition to the multiverse. So we will see how that is handled. Hope number three. Keep the story, small, quote unquote small. I'm not saying you shouldn't go for it. You shouldn't go for big action and crazy things. I mean, season 1 had a big alien cow, right? Butterflies. Not those things. I think that James Gunn will do crazy, and he's usually really good at it. So I'm not saying keep the story small in that regard. I'm not saying this entire season should be Peacemaker having a conversation with Harcourt for 8 episodes and that's it. No, not at all. But James Gunn has alluded to this, and I think I feel hopeful about this, that this season's going to be more emotional. It's going to deal with Chris Smith's psyche a little bit more in depth. And I think that, dealing with his idea that he wants to be a hero more now after the events of Peacemaker season 1. And I'm excited about that. So I hope that is the case. Keep the story intimate, keep the real emotional crux of this small and intimate. And I think that we will be in a good spot. And then 2 predictions here. Number 1, kind of out of nowhere, I think Batman will show up. I'm not going to commit to the idea that they're going to show the actor who plays Batman. I actually suspect that they're going to probably do another silhouette kind of thing like they did with Creature Commandos. Maybe, just as something to throw out there. Maybe the entire season of Peacemaker happens and all things are good and wrapped up at the end of it and the multiverse is closed. I hope. I really hope. And then the post-credit scene for the finale is a silhouette of the Batman ears and the cape and the cowl from the back as he's in the Batcave looking at a monitor, looking at the whole thing happen. Maybe that's it. I don't know. But I think in some fashion or form, Batman will show up. James Gunn has been teasing a big cameo. I don't know if that's what it's going to be, but I think that maybe this might be a good time to start sowing the seeds for the future Batman of the DCU, which I do not think is going to be Robert Pattinson. James Gunn has said over and over and over and over again, it's not Robert Pattinson. So there is that. And my only other prediction for Peacemaker Season 2, this is based on some things that James Gunn has said before, where he said that based on Peacemaker Season 2, you're going to start to get a better idea of what the grander story of the DCU is going to be for Gods and Monsters. Because yes, the DCU is going to have an overarching story. How clear that's going to be early on and how connected things are going to be, who knows? I mean, is Clayface going to show up in Justice League? I don't know. Maybe not. But James Gunn has said that you will start to get an idea of what's going on here. And I think in that vein, Peacemaker Season 2, James Gunn has said how much he loves making Peacemaker and how much he really enjoys these characters in this story. I think Peacemaker Season 2 is going to be the linchpin for what happens next. Similar to some linchpin stories in the MCU like, say an Iron Man 2 leading up to Avengers, or Thor the Dark World, or Guardians of the Galaxy, just films that set up Infinity Stones and do a little bit more of the heavy lifting in terms of setting up the Infinity Saga, right? There are stories that do that a little bit more. Doctor Strange the Multiverse of Madness, I'm sure, did some heavy lifting in terms of what happens in Doomsday. I think Peacemaker Season 2 will be one of those shows and will be a big linchpin for what happens for Gods and Monsters. The first chapter in the DCU. So guys, those are my 3 hopes and 2 predictions. I know they sound a little bit more negative. Again, it's because I have all the faith and confidence in the world for James Gunn to deliver on the things that he always delivers on. Great action, I'm sure, great music choices, needle drops, and then of course funny jokes and good humor and storytelling. So those things I'm just not as worried about for Peacemaker Season 2. I think, like I said before with my trailer reaction, I just think this is a show also with the smallest amount of variance between first and second season. I think that if you loved Peacemaker Season 1, if you liked it, you're going to love and like this second season. I just have a good feeling about that. If you hated Peacemaker Season 1, I don't think that's going to change personally. We'll see. Would love for everyone to keep an open mind. I'm excited about it, and we will see what happens there. So reviews will start to come out from me next week, hopefully, and then we will dive into the actual episodes. Guys, what do you think about my hopes and predictions for Peacemaker? What are your own hopes and predictions for Peacemaker Season 2? Let me know in the comments down below.